Over the last few days, the atmosphere in Baltimore has gotten even heavier. After reviewing everything with the league, John Harbaugh finally broke his silence. And the moment he did, it was obvious that his patience was officially gone. You could feel he'd been carrying that frustration since the game against the Steelers, and now he let all out, pointing to problems that, according to him, simply make no sense. What makes this even wilder is that Harbaugh's comments raise more questions than answers. He left this cloud of mystery hanging in the air, almost like something serious happened behind the scenes. And you're going to want every detail, because what he said completely changes how that game needs to be understood. This wasn't just criticism. It was a warning that's about to blow up the conversation all the way through this video. John Harbaugh walked out of that game visibly irritated, and he didn't try to hide it from anyone the second he started talking. You could tell he was at the limit. He said the catch rule is clear as mud, and it came out like someone who tried to make sense of everything and flat out couldn't. It felt like watching someone try to solve a puzzle where none of the pieces fit, and that made the whole atmosphere even heavier after the loss. And the craziest part is that, even after talking to the league, Harbaugh said nothing became easy to understand. He explained that he got explanations heard from the NFL office, but still ended exactly where he started. Confused. You can tell it hits deeper when he circles back to the same point more than once. It's the kind of frustration that builds because when you expect clarity and get even more questions instead, the sense of injustice only gets stronger. That irritation hit even harder because the loss knocked the team out of first place in the AFC North, which makes everything way more tense. You can imagine the weight that puts in the locker room, because every detail matters when the race is this tight. So when Harbaugh spoke, it felt like he wasn't just complaining about the game. He was venting about everything that brought the team to that moment. The reviews, the calls, the weak explanations. It was a kind of statement that shows he felt the emotional punch from start to finish. In the end, Harbaugh was basically asking the league to take another look at these rules. Because the way things are right now, neither players nor coaches can trust the process. And that opens the door to another major part of the story. The play that blew everything up. Isaiah Likely's touchdown that would have changed the game completely and became the main source of all this outrage. And that's where the next point starts gaining real weight. Isaiah Likely's play became the center of the chaos because, in that first moment, it felt like the kind of snap that flips the whole game. Lamar Jackson delivered the throw. Likely secured it, fell into the end zone, and everything pointed to a touchdown putting Baltimore ahead. It was a kind of moment where the entire tone shifts. But seconds after the celebration, the officiating crew decided to review it. And that's when everything started to unravel. When referee Alex Moore announced a review, the whole stadium froze. The explanation was that Likely didn't complete the process of the catch because he supposedly lost control before the third step, thanks to Joey Porter Jr.'s contact. That detail became the justification for overturning the touchdown, and more than the decision itself, the speed at which everything flipped is what stung. It felt like a decisive moment had been ripped out of Baltimore's hands. The NFL tried to explain later, saying the ball was coming loose before that third step hit the ground. But for anyone watching the footage, that wasn't the case. Likely had both hands locked on the ball, planted in the end zone, before any real contact. That gap between what everyone saw and what was called created immediate outrage. When the rule seems to shift depending on the angle, trust disappears. And that's exactly what happened. And the worst part is that this wasn't an isolated moment. The reversal wiped out Baltimore's clearest chance to take the lead, and the next drive ended in a turnover on downs. From there, the game spiraled out of control, and frustration just kept piling up. And that leads straight into the next moment that raised the temperature even more, the second controversial overturn of the night, which came shortly after, and only deepened the sense that nothing was going Baltimore's way. That play that looked like an interception in the fourth quarter made everything even heavier. With just over 7 minutes left, the tip pass ended up in the hands of two players at the same time, the Steelers quarterback and the Ravens linebacker. The original ruling gave possession to Baltimore, and that felt like the moment that could finally swing the momentum back. The team needed any spark to regain control, but once again, the review stepped in and flipped the call that was already made. The officials reversed it, took the ball away from Baltimore, and handed possession right back to Pittsburgh. This wasn't just a technical decision. It was another emotional gut punch in a night full of them. With every new call going the other way, it became clearer how draining it was to the team, which was trying to stay composed despite the avalanche of setbacks. It was like rowing against a current that kept getting stronger. The timing of this reversal only made things worse. Baltimore was still trying to regroup after Likely's overturned touchdown, and losing possession again killed another chance to reset. In big games, moments like this matter way too much. They change the clock, the strategy, the confidence. You could see the psychological impact growing, because every play felt like more proof that the team was fighting against something invisible. And as if all that wasn't enough, there was another moment earlier in the game that helped build this entire feeling of accumulated injustice. A play back in the second quarter, small at the time, ended up having a massive effect on the scoreboard. And that's exactly the moment that opened the door for even more confusion and frustration, setting up the next topic.
All right, we're already past the halfway point of this video, but before we continue, I noticed you haven't left a like yet. It's really important because it helps YouTube keep showing you my content so I can keep bringing you the best news about the Baltimore Ravens. So go ahead and hit that like button. It's free and it really helps. Thanks. Now let's get back to it.
In the second quarter, there was a play that a lot of people might have forgotten amid the chaos, but it had a huge impact on the scoreboard. Travis Jones was flagged for roughing the long snapper during a Steelers field goal attempt, but his contact with Christian Kuntz looked completely accidental, something that happened because of the speed of the play, not because he was trying to hit the long snapper. It was the kind of call that makes everyone scratch their head, wondering where exactly the infraction was. That penalty gave Pittsburgh an automatic first down, and that changed everything. Instead of kicking the field goal, the Steelers got new life on the drive and turned that chance into a touchdown. In other words, a play that should have resulted in just 3 points suddenly became 7. And in a game this tight, a swing like that weighs a ton. Baltimore's defense had been holding strong, but that call cut their momentum instantly. What makes it even stranger is that, looking at the play, it didn't seem like Jones hit Kuntz in any illegal or dangerous way. He was simply cutting through the line, trying to pressure the kick, and the contact happened because they were both moving. Still, the officials ruled enough to throw the flag, and that fed into the growing sense that Baltimore was fighting more than just the opponent. When the standard seems to shift, confidence in the process collapses fast. And this detail becomes even heavier when you stack it on top of everything else that came after. Every review, every questionable call, every confusing explanation kept building until it turned into a nearly unbearable scenario. And that brings us to what might be the most painful part of all, the impact this loss had on the standings, especially at the top of the AFC North, leading directly into the final topic. The 27-22 loss hurt, not just because of how it happened, but because it knocked Baltimore out of first place in the AFC North. That completely changes what this game means in the context of the season, because it puts the team in a much tougher spot in the division race. When you add that to all the controversial decisions, the final feeling is deep frustration, like the team lost something much bigger than just a game. And the way the game unfolded only amplified that feeling. It was a night where every questionable call came at a crucial moment, and that affected the team in different ways. Emotionally, strategically, and even in terms of clock management. The overturned touchdown, the reverse interception, and the long snapper penalty turned into a string of blows that were almost impossible to absorb. The game became a constant battle against situations completely out of their control. The AFC North race was already tight, and this loss added even more pressure. Now Baltimore needs to recover quickly to prevent the weight of this game from spilling into the rest of the season. The team knows that controversial decisions are part of the NFL, but when they stack up like this, the emotional impact is inevitable. That makes every week even more tense, especially in a race this close. In the end, this loss became one of those games the team will remember for a long time, not just because of the score, but because of everything happening around it. The mix of frustration and the hit in the standings creates a turning point in the season. And now, more than ever, Baltimore needs stability to prevent nights like this from dictating the rest of their path, closing a chapter that left deep marks on and off the field. Everything that happened this week made it clear that Baltimore's situation shifted from simple frustration to a genuine internal alarm. The controversial calls, the reversals that changed the course of the game, and Harbaugh's recent comments showed a team that isn't just upset. It's tired of feeling like off-field decisions are determining major games. This wasn't an isolated episode. It exposed a bigger insecurity that now needs to be addressed by the league and acknowledged by everyone following this season. With so many questionable decisions stacked together, the question now is unavoidable. Do you think the NFL truly failed in this game, or does Baltimore need to look more at its own mistakes? That's where opinions are going to split, because we're not talking about a single moment or a single call. We're talking about a sequence that directly affected the result, the standings, and the mindset inside the team. No matter the answer, one thing is certain. Baltimore can't carry this weight going forward. The team needs to turn this frustration into fuel to respond, find its rhythm again, and prove it still has the firepower to control the AFC North. The season is still wide open, and if there's a moment for this group to show character, it's right now. Because after everything that happened, every game has become a chance to prove that nothing, absolutely nothing, will pull their focus away from what really matters.
And if you, just like me, are passionate about the world of football and want to learn more about the Ravens' legacy, don't leave this video without sharing it with that friend who is also a Baltimore Ravens fan and will love this content. See those video suggestions on your screen? The first one was handpicked just for you, and the other is a recommendation from YouTube itself.